So today we're going to be creating a portrait, and a portrait is a picture of somebody's face. In front of you, you should have some resources. You should have a piece of white chalk and some charcoal and some brown paper that's shiny on one side and smooth and rough on the other side. And you're going to need to be working on the rough side of the paper today. You should also have on your tables a picture of a man with a beard or a moustache, and that's because those are the people we're going to be drawing today, and we're focusing on lots of facial hair. And you should also have a large piece of brown paper. Now you'll notice that the picture and the brown paper have both been folded into 8 separate pieces, and your photograph has lines marked down it and across, and these are going to help us when we come to draw. But before we start, the first thing that you're going to need to do is to experiment with the mark making tools that you've been given. So I want you to take your piece of charcoal, and I'm going to show you how we hold it. When we hold a pencil, we would normally hold a pencil like this to write. But we're not going to hold our charcoal in that way. You're going to put it on top of 3 fingers and put your thumb on top like that. And that's how you're going to hold your charcoal. You might want to tilt it a little bit so that you've got a little bit that sticks out from the top of your finger. And I want you to experiment drawing some small shapes, not tiny, not huge, let's just say medium-sized. Let's begin with a circle, and I just want you to go round and round and get a feel for how the charcoal is sticking to the paper. And then next to that, we're going to draw a square. Now, in your square, I want you to start at one corner, and you're going to bring your charcoal lightly up to the top. So it's going to be dark in one corner, and bring it lightly, try and make it really light up to the top. Now we're going to use our finger and we're going to smudge, and I just want you to practice and see what effects you can get. I started at the lightest end and I'm moving down to the darker corner, and I've smudged that in. Now I've now got a finger that's covered in charcoal, so I'm going to take my other paper towel and I'm just going to wipe that off, and this is how you keep your hands reasonably clean so that when you touch things you're not leaving big charcoaly fingerprints everywhere. Now what we're going to do is we're going to experiment with the chalk. Now we can do exactly the same thing with the chalk. If I draw a square here, you may find that with this paper, because it's very thin, you need to just hold it down with your other hand as I'm doing. And I'm going to do some light chalk here. And I'm going to press down a little bit more as I get to this end, and add more chalk to that corner because I want that to be a little darker. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smudge down just as I did with the charcoal, smooth that in. So what happens if we put those two things together? So I'm going to draw my square. I've made it slightly bigger this time, and I'm going to very lightly bring my charcoal down, and then I'm going to let it be really dark there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chalk, but for my chalk I'm going to work the other way around. So I'm going to put more chalk where I want it to be light up at the top. And then I'm going to bring it down sort of to where they meet in the middle. Just put a little bit more there. All right, so I have an interesting effect there, actually without smudging. I quite like that effect. So this one I'm not going to smudge. And then I'm going to draw another one that I will smudge. And then I'm just going to smudge this time from here all the way down to there. And I have a lovely, I'm just going to wipe my finger as it's very, there we go. I have a lovely smudged version of this one that I produced earlier. So when you look at these, you can see we have different textures. We can smudge and everything becomes much softer, or we can draw and we can draw at the edge and at the sides, and we have a pattern that's appearing from the paper. With our charcoal and our chalk, we can make very fine and quite thick lines by moving the charcoal or chalk back and forwards over the paper. Especially the charcoal, it will wear down and it will create quite a fine point that you can then use for drawing very fine lines. The chalk, if you use a corner, will create a fine line as well. If I use the end, I can create a much broader line. And if I use it sideways on, it will eventually allow me to cover large areas. And that's the same with the charcoal. If I use this sideways on, it will allow me to cover large areas.